on the receiving end, it doesn't feel like help. It feels like PR. It feels like getting left behind. At events led by Fuerza Unida and the city's Office of Sustainability, families have shared what it's like to live in homes reaching 110 degrees inside. They're afraid to turn on their ACs, not because they don't have it, but because they fear the bill they will get for using it. Let me give you some facts. I looked these up today. OSHA says anything over 95 degrees is dangerous. And the World Health Organization recommends 70 degrees or lower in homes with infants or elders. And this is a huge senior retirement city. That's why we're saying this loud and clear. No one should lose their water or electricity, especially not when they're already struggling. Not when they're a working family making under $71,000 a year. Not when they're drowning in debt just to try and feed their kids. Not when they've lost a job and are doing their best to get back on their feet. And definitely not when someone depends on the power to stay alive, for oxygen, for medical equipment, for daily care. These are the people CPS should be protecting, not punishing. At last week's city council meeting, several council members asked if CPS turns a profit this year, it should help the community like it did last year, not turn into a lifetime rate hike. We also call on CPS Energy to hold real, open, public process to review how it sets its rates. Right now, the rate system rewards the biggest users, including heavy polluters and high consumption properties, while everyday working families who conserve energy still pay more. That's backwards, it's unjust. It puts the heaviest burden on those who can least afford it. And it's been happening while CPS continues to raise rates again and again since 2022, and with no real input from people paying the price. We deserve a seat at that table. But right now, that table is reserved for the city's wealthiest business leaders. That has to change. That has to change. We also demand transparency. The Citizens Input Committee must change its bylaws so that all subcommittee meetings are public and accessible. Because when it comes to basic survival, to water, to power, to justice, transparency is non-negotiable. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah Ponce. Our next speaker is Julian Villarreal, who will be speaking as a CGSA member.
Good afternoon. My name is Julian Villarreal. I'm a member of the CPS Community Input Committee representing District 5. I've been an organizer here with Climate Justice San Antonio since our group was formed, and I also organized with the Bexar County Green Party. In my role on the CIC, the Community Input Committee, I've tried to advocate along with my friends and colleagues here for putting ordinary ratepayers first. As we see time and time again, the basic needs of working class people continue to be ignored as people are squeezed by increasing costs, while at the same time, our leaders continue to give handouts to corporations and to billionaires, and we're simply saying no more. We're demanding that our publicly owned utility place the needs of ordinary working class people and ratepayers first, and do so in a way that centers community care. It's very simple in my mind. Ordinary folks like us need electricity, and we need water in order to live. But the strongest voices in our supposedly public institutions are the profit seekers and the rent seekers who use energy and water for the purposes of greed. Right, for profit, exactly. And we're saying that this is wrong, this is immoral, and we won't stand for this type of scenario anymore where the most wasteful entities continue to consume and consume in the midst of the climate crisis that we are undergoing right now, and yet ordinary people continue to struggle. They're getting their power and their water disconnected, and yet the most wasteful consumers get to have a break. So we're saying no, we're demanding change. As I said, myself being a member of the Community Input Committee, I've tried to bring a voice to these concerns. However, we have not been able to deal with many of these pressing issues through our input process. In fact, there's been a concerted effort on the part of managers at CPS to withhold needed information, withhold data from the public, and to have critical conversations around these issues behind closed doors. And this includes on the Community Input Committee. So we're demanding greater transparency, we're demanding justice in terms of rates and disconnections, and we're demanding a greater voice for the public in all of these matters, because we will no longer stand for decisions being made about us without us being in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. I appreciate that Julian is the lone champion of transparency within CPS Energy's secret subcommittee, the Citizen Input Committee. Our next speaker is Ana Trevino with Texas Rising.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Ana Trevino, and I'm speaking on behalf of Climate Justice San Antonio. We are a collective of different individuals, organizations that focus on climate justice here in San Antonio. We are here today because CPS Energy has continued to ignore our demands and the struggle of working class people. And they continue to ignore the exacerbated climate change that affects people. We are demanding that CPS Energy pass a no-disconnection policy that does not disconnect the energy of some of our most vulnerable community members. That includes for low-income households, for debt-burdened households, for people who are currently experiencing unemployment, and for people who also have critical care regimens or devices that require utility access. And if those things are disconnected, it could otherwise be life-threatening. So we are also demanding that CPS Energy apply the revenue surplus to resolve the accumulated debts of people, and thereafter to a program to subsidize at-risk populations as listed above, because we need to prioritize people based off their need. Ratepayers cannot wait any longer, especially as we continue to experience the extreme summer heat that threatens public health. We need to adopt energy policies that understands, protects, and relieves working class people of economic inequalities rather than continues to burden them. Today, we want the CPS Energy Board to pass this policy. They need to agendize it. And at the end of the day, utility disconnections are inhumane and they need to stop.
Thank you, Ana. Our next speaker is Jeanette Rico, who is part of the Coalition for Dignified Housing.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeanette Rico. I'm from the Coalition for Dignified Housing, and I'm also a resident of the West Side. I lived in the Alazana Apache courts for 9 years, and I currently help residents just find resources to help them, aid them in their disconnections and also their outstanding bills that they may have. And that's what we do here in our coalition as a team. And but the biggest thing that I've seen is just, it's been heartbreaking, a lot of things that I've witnessed. For one, the first person I had gotten was a woman who, you know, served her whole life as a teacher and, you know, served her community and did everything that she, you know, felt, you know, graduated and as an outstanding citizen. And now that it's her time to be, you know, just retired, and she's unfortunately in a wheelchair and has everything electric, she was faced with this outstanding bill because of her bed being electric, her chair, everything, down to her oxygen tank. And she was having this, you know, huge bill, and it was about to be disconnected. It could also affect her life. Luckily, you know, we were able to get it, you know, taken fully dissolved, but it shouldn't have been that way. There should be some kind of grace for residents and citizens that have, just everybody. It's a you know, a human right. It's not like it's a luxury or something. This is our well-being. And you know, we've seen lots of families where they've been like disconnected completely, and there is no resource for that besides us in the 78207 that can help somebody with that. If once the bill is disconnected, they don't have the programs won't help them. So there's a lot of families out there right now, as we're here, that have no water, that have no light. And if here, just standing here in the heat, imagine these children and these families and these elderly that are out there right now. And that's just a reminder why we're here today, why we're fighting, why we continue to come here every time they call us out here. I'm really thankful, and I'll continue to come out here to support the community and just to spread awareness, and hopefully we will get some change. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeanette. Our next speaker is Eva, also with the Coalition for Dignified Housing.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Evangelina Villanueva y soy promotora con la Coalición por una Vivienda Digna. Soy una residente del West Side, donde existen muchas familias vulnerables e inmigrantes. En últimas fechas estamos enfrentando un cambio climático y severo y también hostil. Uno por el calentamiento del ambiente y otro por la xenofobia y la política antiinmigrante. Las personas inmigrantes están enfrentando deportaciones y miedo que les impide trabajar. Así también en nuestra comunidad hay un gran número de personas de la tercera edad que ya no pueden trabajar y no tienen los medios para pagar sus facturas al CPS. Les pido que sean compasivos y no continúen con las desconexiones, ya que esto implica que haya deshidratación y enfermedades debido al calentamiento. Recuerden, son tiempos difíciles, no más desconexiones. Gracias.
Yes. Thank you so much, Eva. I'm going to go ahead and translate what she said, because what she said is powerful and necessary to hear. Eva is a housing advocate with the Coalition for Dignified Housing. She's a resident of the West Side, where many vulnerable and immigrant families live. Recently, we have been facing severe and hostile climate change, both due to global warming and also due to xenophobia and anti-immigration policies. Immigrants are facing deportation and fear that prevents them from working. Also in our community, there are a large number of elderly people who can no longer work and cannot afford to pay their CPS energy bills. I ask that you be compassionate and stop the disconnections, as this leads to dehydration and illness due to global warming. Remember, these are difficult times. No more disconnections. Couldn't say it better myself. Our final speaker is Brian Lopez with the Southern Workers Assembly.
Good afternoon. I'll keep this brief, as much of what has needed to be said has already been said by my colleagues. To put it simply, CPS is a public utility that should be lifting up our people, not providing subsidies to the corporations and land developers who are forcing us